Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. Today we stop by the Daniel Pearl Education Center at Temple B'nai Shalom for the inaugural lecture in a new speaker series consistent with the ideals and principles of the Daniel Pearl Education Center. Then we head to the East Brunswick Senior Center, where an informative discussion on Medicare open enrollment recently took place, and we have the information that seniors need to sign up. And we'll stay at the Senior Center to speak with local poet Glenis Redmond, and we'll get to catch some of her performance poetry. All this plus a sneak peek at a brand new episode of Sports Talk airing throughout the month of December, and we'll let you know when to catch it in its entirety. So stay with us.
This is Barbara Reese reporting for This Week in East Brunswick. We're very fortunate today to be here at Temple B'nai Shalom at the Daniel Pearl Education Center to hear a meaningful lecture by Dr. Perry Brinkman, who brings his story of hope and determination here to East Brunswick.
We're thrilled to have Dr. Brinkman here. He's going to be speaking about his experiences in the Emory Dental School and some of the anti-Semitism he faced and the challenges that he had to overcome. You know, we're grateful that anti-Semitism is not as much of a factor in our everyday lives as it used to be in getting into college and medical school and dental school and law school and et cetera. But but we have to remember that history because it informs who we are and where we came from. And it also teaches us to remain open to all and to ensure that everyone gets an equal chance to excel and to succeed in our society.
Tell us a little bit about what you're going to address the community about today.
The story is about the Emory University Dental School between 1948 and 1961. Emory's in Atlanta, Georgia. Their dental school had been there for many, many years. It was a proprietary school. Prior to that, it was called Atlanta Southern Dental College. But in 1944, they became Emory. They were merged into Emory. A new dean came in 1948. His name was John Buehler. He came from Temple University, not far from here. And during his reign, between 48 and 61, 65% of the Jewish students were either flunked out completely or made to repeat one or more years. We didn't know it at the time, but there were quotas even at Emory. There were quotas everywhere, meaning they only took a certain amount of Jewish students. However, they took who they thought were the best students, and once you were in the college, they treated you very well. We had no idea. The Jewish fraternities were in 1 and 2 every year in scholarship, so how would you know there was anything wrong? The only problem was we sort of got a hint of it because only 4 boys, Jewish boys, would get into medical school there every year, and maybe 2, 3, 4 at the most, maybe none, would get into the dental school. There were 4 of us Jewish boys who went that year, 1951. We get home, and I got a letter saying that I couldn't come back, that my grades weren't sufficient, and good luck, and that's it. And we were all shocked, really. And, of course, when you face your parents, even then, everybody thought Emory was perfect. After all, we had gone there before, and almost every single parent said, you just goofed off. They didn't believe us. They thought that the school that way, and it was years and years before it was found out. Fortunately, the Anti-Defamation League, a man named Art Levin was the director there, and he gathered a lot of this information. Nobody else would listen to him, but he finally got it together and went to Emory University and confronted it. They denied it. He kept putting heat on the dean, and I'm telling the short story, but in 1961, the dean resigned. The Jewish community there was so happy he was gone by that time, they decided not to say anything to the reporters when they came to see them. They said they chose not to say anything, so the public didn't hear their side of the story. Emory, on the other hand, once they realized no one said anything, they denied any charges of anti-Semitism, discrimination. They said it was just trivia, there wasn't anything to it, no basis to it. They denied it, and that's the way it was. The following year, 1962, a book came out by the ADL, Some of My Best Friends. Well, we know what that means. It talks all about anti-Semitism in the United States, and in the 11th chapter, they mention Emory University. All hell hit again, In 2006, I first found that book, Some of My Best Friends. I had never heard of it or anything like that, and I saw the graphs. They said, 65%, and I thought, my word, I didn't know any of the rest of this stuff went on other than my class. And I started going around, and people didn't want to talk to me. They said, it's over. What are you doing? At this point, what difference does it make? So that made me want to do it more. I found the names of all the students who had been there, and I interviewed them all over. I went to 20 states, and I did 5 years of research, found all kinds of letters, smoking guns, and all that, things that the dean had said confidentially. He kept them, and they were in an archive in South Carolina, and I was the first one to ever even look at it. And in there, he's telling stories about this Jew, that, and that Jew, and so I was taking classes at Apple, and I made a documentary on my Mac, and took it to a few of my friends, and they said, Emory's got to see this. So they whispered in a few ears at Emory. They listened, they looked at it, the documentary. They just couldn't believe it. Of course, they weren't the ones that did it. It was their predecessors. So they quickly came back and said, we want to have an apology. They had no idea how many people, would come. And it broke in the New York Times. One of the people that got me, she was friendly with Samuel Friedman, who writes the article every Sunday. He called me, interviewed me, and this broke 3 days before the big apology. You could not get in Emory. You couldn't find a parking place that night. The people, if the fire marshal had been there, they would have shut the place down. And from then, it's just been CNN, CBS, everything, all just multiple interviews, and I've spoken all over the country. And it's really helped. It's helped me, but it's really helped so many of those boys who had self-doubt. But I have a message for young people that I think that, number one, this is going to come as a surprise. This really would not have been a story. I mean, I would have had my story. I did the research, but it would not have gone viral except for the apology. The apology is what made it a story. So it didn't take me long to figure, you know what, that's major. They apologize. Nobody else, Penn State has yet to apologize. $60 million is not an apology. The Duke University with the lacrosse team, no apologies. Emory apologized, and I give tremendous credit to them for doing that. It's incredible. We learn at Yom Kippur, you have to atone for your sins, and you have to go face to face with the person and tell them sincerely. So that's number one. Number two is when somebody does apologize to you, you have to accept the apology. We have to be vigilant, diligent, and we have to know what's right and stand up for it.
Well, this has been one of our hopes is to get a lecture series going, again, to promote acceptance and understanding, and his story is quite compelling, especially in this time of bullying and discrimination, and even though it happened a long time ago, it's still it sounds true to almost everybody. To just think about the being denied what you want to do based just because of your religion is just unacceptable. So this was a perfect way for us to start a series that we hope will help to bring that to the forefront.
Well, I think Dr. Brinkman is teaching us that no matter what your religion or ethnic group or your background or where you're from, you can succeed and move forward, that's what our country is about, and that's what Judaism teaches us as well. Our program this evening is sponsored by the Daniel Pearl Education Center in memory of Daniel Pearl, and our education center teaches us about tolerance and understanding and acceptance and a willingness to join together and overcome barriers.
This is Barbara Reese reporting for This Week in East Brunswick. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at Temple B'nai Shalom, and we look forward to seeing you here at the Daniel Pearl Education Center for a lecture in the near future.
Hi, I'm Sharon Riley Morosi, Assistant Director for the East Brunswick Department on Aging, and this is the Voice of Experience. Today we had Mary McGeary, the Director of the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, here at the Senior Center talking about Medicare open enrollment.
For 2014, your Medicare premium will not increase. Right now, most folks with Medicare are paying $104.90 per month, taken out of your Social Security for your Medicare Part B premium. That will not increase for 2014. Again, though, if your income's higher than that $85,000, you will pay a slightly higher amount. The Affordable Care Act is also helping to improve some of the benefits that your Medicare coverage offers you. The biggest area is in preventive care. Medicare pays for screenings for most types of chronic conditions. And under the Affordable Care Act, Medicare increased the amount it pays for those services and increased the number of services it covered in that category. So now Medicare covers 100% for things like mammograms, prostate screening, cholesterol screening. That's covered 100% by Medicare with no deductible and no 20% cost share. Medicare is also encouraging providers to do some additional screenings that are more related to behaviors that affect our health. So doctors are now screening for obesity, alcohol abuse, and depression, and Medicare is paying, again, 100% for those types of screenings. One of the biggest increased and improvement to benefits under the Affordable Care Act is the change to the Part D prescription drug benefit. When Congress first came out with this prescription benefit in 2006, it had something called the coverage gap, which most folks called what? The donut hole. Okay? And if you took a lot of expensive prescriptions, that if you took more than $3,000 worth of prescriptions in any given year, you would fall into that coverage gap or the donut hole, where you had to pay the full cost of your medications once again. Under the Affordable Care Act, that coverage gap is shrinking little by little each year. By the year 2020, that gap will be eliminated altogether. We are hearing of a lot of scams out there targeted to our senior citizen population, right? So if you get a phone call from someone who says they're representing Obamacare and you could qualify for lots of extra help with your health insurance, so please give me your Medicare number and maybe your bank account number so we can deposit some assistance in your account, that's a scam. Right? Medicare does not call beneficiaries. Social Security does not call beneficiaries. Right? If a handsome man comes knocking on your door telling you about Obamacare, okay, you don't need Obamacare. You have Medicare. You have health insurance. So please be wary of scams right now. To compare your Medicare drug plans, you want to look at 4 factors. You want to look at coverage, cost, convenience, and coordination. Now I want to talk about Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare offers you a choice to get your benefits for hospitals and doctors under something called either Original Medicare, where you can go to any Medicare doctor, or you can get your benefits from a private insurance company that is contracted with Medicare to offer your benefits. They're usually Medicare HMOs. Again, they're offered by companies like Humana, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Aetna. When you join a Medicare Advantage plan, you can no longer go to any Medicare doctor. You have to use doctors that are in the network for that insurance company. You still have the same benefits as you do in Original Medicare, and you might have some extra benefits, the Advantage part of Medicare Advantage. Many of these plans offer extra benefits like eyeglasses, dental, and hearing aids, which Original Medicare does not cover at all. So that you get some extra benefits by getting your benefits under a Medicare Advantage plan. Medicare Advantage plans are not supplements. So if you have Original Medicare and a Medicare supplement, which some people also call the Medigap, that's one way to get your coverage. But if you join a Medicare Advantage plan, that's a totally different way to get your benefits. Advantage plans are different than the supplements. To get more help with these choices, your Medicare New Handbook has lots of information about prescription drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans and those preventive benefits I mentioned earlier. 1-800-MEDICARE is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you answer your questions. Also the Medicare website, medicare.gov, not medicare.com. Right? Medicare.gov is the official Medicare website. You can call the plans directly, and that sheet I gave you with Medicare Advantage plans, it does have those companies' toll-free number and their website listed on there. Finally, we have something called our SHIP program.
If you would like more information about programs and services available through the East Brunswick Department on Aging, then please call us at 732-390-6896. And please remember, the East Brunswick Department on Aging is here to help you and yours age successfully.
My insides pushing out. the disposition of a poet. The doctor waited 4 years hoping the hole would close. It refused the disposition of a poet.
Hi, I'm Sharon Riley Morosi, Assistant Director for the East Brunswick Department on Aging, and this is the Voice of Experience. Today I am here at the Senior Center with Glenis Redmond. Glenis is a performance poet. Glenis, tell us about performance poetry.
Well, performance poetry is taking poetry off the page and onto the stage and giving it a rhythm and so that it floats out to the listener's ear and hears the story in that way. And I grew up around Black Baptist preachers and people who would sit on the porch and tell stories and jokes and lies. And some of that has found its way into the way I deliver my poetry.
Great-grandma was legendary. Legend was she was 1/2 black, 1/2 Cherokee, and full-on crazy. At least that's what Daddy said. He said she asked quietly at first, "Quit the racket." Then yelled, "Stop banging on the piano." They didn't take her seriously, but from then on, they always would, as she drove her slate gray point home. When the family went cotton picking, she went out back, grabbed an axe, split the piano into twos. When I am torn, I rest on what my daddy said. I carry her story by heart. Somewhere not far from here, I hear the crows in her black hair, climbing braided ropes, feel the burn of the Serengeti, setting in the amber of her eyes, held by cheekbone cliffs. She cemented her story with one solitary act. A wounded healer hammering her stance, ruined music splitting the air.
Now I understand that there's more in the works. What other programs are scheduled for our seniors?
Yes, I came today and did a performance, but next week we're going to start with, well, it's already started with Churchill, the school there with 9th graders, and they got to hear a performance. But we had the idea to have the freshmen there experience our elders. So they'll come over and interview, or the senior citizens will go over and visit the young people, and the young people will interview them about their lives, and then in turn write poetry. And so then we'll end up with a group share, and then they'll share their poetry with one another. So I'm going to do 2 workshops, one with the freshmen and also with our elders, which we call super seniors. So I'm looking forward to seeing this community event and bringing both of these populations together, because we believe that the learning is not just in the classroom, and there's just so much learning that takes place intergenerationally. So we're just excited, and we're so pleased that you all have opened your doors to this part of poetry and sharing our stories.
Hope, and I know that you all will come out and share your stories and give back in that way, and let our students learn so much at what I call the feet of our elders. So I want to thank you all just coming to listen to poetry. You could have been anywhere today, and you decided to listen to poetry.
What would you say to anyone in the community who's just sort of thinking about this idea? What would you say to encourage them to come and participate?
Well, number one, I would say don't be scared off by the word poetry. Think of it more as stories, and we all have our stories, and I am just the facilitator, the guide, to help you to tell your story. So if you think you have any inkling of telling that story, come. You will not be disappointed what goes on. You'll learn so much about the young people, and then you'll realize that you have so much to say.
They banter back and forth like boys do. You charcoal, son. You so black, you purple. I tell them, hole up in defense of my mahogany skin and the boy they're putting down. On cue, as if we rehearsed it, we both chime in. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. We flash twin smiles, and there's a moment when the air gets less complicated in the room. The space is large enough for me to ask, why y'all hate on each other so hard? Oh, he my boy, see, that's how we show love. They're keeping it real because I got 3 brothers growing up and I never saw them show love, except in that man-on-man, dunk in your face, call you ignorant 10 times a day way.
Glenis, what do you hope people will take away from your performance?
Well, I just hope that they listen to the journey that I take them on, and that they experience their own lives in a way, whether it's sadness or celebration. When I talk about my mama or my grandma or my grandfather, you know, maybe it will conjure up memories from the past of their own lives. And so I just want them to dig deep and appreciate the complex, beautiful life that we live.
Glenis, you mentioned in your presentation that sometimes we don't know how things happen. And so I don't know exactly how you found your way to East Brunswick, but I am happy, and we're all happy that you are here, and we're planning a longer relationship together. So we're looking forward to that.
I hope so, because I felt like when I was here last year, the performance, it felt like a wave just rushing over me of warmth. And I want that cycle to continue. And I believe that's the bigger part of being a poet, believing in those fates and those mysteries that bring us together. And I hope this journey continues and we have fuller circle moments together. So thank you for all you do and allowing me to come in through poetry and through story to join your community. Thank you so much.
Well, we are grateful. We also want to thank the State Theater for providing Glenis's performance this afternoon, as well as the Horizon Foundation. If you would like more information about programs and services available through the East Brunswick Department on Aging, then please call us at 732-390-6896. And please remember, the East Brunswick Department on Aging is here to help you and yours age successfully.
Be sure to tune in for a brand new episode of Sports Talk in December, as Athletic Director Frank Knoppenberger sits down in studio with 2 student athletes. You can catch this episode in its entirety Wednesdays at 5 and 9 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays at 12:30 p.m. And as always, as video on demand at www.ebtv3.org.
Welcome, guys. We're going to start off with a simple question. Joe, you'll answer the first one. And why or how did you get involved in soccer? Now, the Goodzak family has been known to be football players prior to your brothers, but why and how did you get involved in soccer?
Well, up to about 6th grade, I played soccer and football, but I got to the point where I had to switch and only play one sport. So from there, I decided to play soccer, and I've been playing ever since.
Right, and no regrets about that?
No.
But you also played basketball, and you...
Yeah. Until 9th grade, I played soccer and basketball. I played fast break basketball with our travel team with Amir Bell, Gary Bell. Right.
You could have been what they'd be saying, Amir Bell who, if you were playing with them, Joe.
Yeah.
Now, Rachel, you know, field hockey, there's not all those youth leagues and those travel teams like there are in soccer or basketball. How did you get involved in field hockey, and why field hockey?
Well, I started out in a simple rec league, rec program with Coach T, actually, in 5th grade. My mom actually got the, I guess it was like a pamphlet in the mail, and she asked me if I wanted to try this sport, and I had no idea what field hockey was, but I said, all right, sure, I'll do it. And I went and I met Coach T for the first time, and originally I thought I was going to be a defender. I had this gigantic stick, maybe like, well, it was definitely taller than me, but and then from then on, I started to really like pick up field hockey, and I really liked it. So then after 5th grade, I continued on until freshman year.
Motivation. Obviously, you're both motivated. What motivates you more, the fear of failure or the joy of success? What motivates you more? Are you afraid of losing or that joy of winning? It's one of my favorite questions. It's in chapter 7 of my book. Who wants to take on that one first?
I'll take that one. I think I realized that after our game against Old Bridge that we lost, and going into the GMC tournament, that feeling of how we lost, how we were almost undefeated, and we lost to Old Bridge that wasn't a really threat to us, and how they celebrated like it was winning the GMC title for them. That really motivated us going into the GMC tournament and helped us win the GMC title.
So
the fear of losing.
Yeah, especially when you're the favorite, especially when you're as consistently good as us. How about you guys? Or you, I should say.
I'd probably say the joy of winning. I answered both last time, but I guess like it changed senior year when I realized that, you know, I'd like to enjoy my time on the field and just, you know, have a positive aspect on it instead of maybe like always playing in fear of if we're gonna lose. Just, you know, play my heart out, like, and then hopefully win the game.
And remember, you can watch this episode of Sports Talk in its entirety Wednesdays at 5 and 9 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays at 12:30 p.m., and as always as video on demand at www.ebtv3.org. Well, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching.